lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Okay.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms. Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent,
Guten Morgen,
open
Kari.
immediately. I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral. In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
Ich hoffe, du hast gut geschlafen. Ich gehe mal unten lang.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to. The woods around the house have
Ja,
always
ich
been
auch.
uncomfortably silent. As if they're about to say something, but never do.
Der Sohn meint allerdings heute Morgen um 7 Uhr doch noch ein bisschen ins große Bett kommen zu wollen. Und das ist so ein kleines Wuselkind, da ist mit Schlafen nicht mehr zu rechnen. Soll ich das Spiel noch ein bisschen lauter machen? Ich glaube, es könnte noch ein bisschen lauter, wenn ich mir die Skala so angucke.
The house was exactly like I remembered it, the way I'd been dreaming about it.
Moment. Ja, aber also wenn er schläft, dann dreht er sich und wälzt sich.
As a
Muss also wieder
child,
einschlafen.
the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
Und darum, er schläft dann wieder, aber man selbst nicht.
Now, as a 17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house. I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't. Looking in, I felt like the house itself had been waiting for me.
Nee, es ist kein Horrorspiel. Nein, dann würde ich es nicht spielen. Da wäre ich raus. Ich muss irgendwie meine Familiengeschichte zusammenkriegen. Ich meine, vielleicht ist es ein bisschen Thriller, aber kein Horror, ne.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11. The power had been turned off the night we left.
Ich habe das Haus geerbt. Und ja, weiß ich auch nicht. Jetzt gehe ich zurück. Muss mir nochmal anzuschauen oder so. Also ich war als Kind schon
For the
hier.
first time in years, I felt like I was home. But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how after Lewis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. Or how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot. The table was still a wreck from the night we left. It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
Also ein bisschen Mystery. Aber das ist gut, wenn du dir hier die Sachen alle merkst. Ich habe davon noch nichts mitbekommen.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home. Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
Das Originalhaus ist versunken. Kein Problem. Kühlschrank, ich komme. Also das scheint ja der Tisch zu sein, ne? Louis gibt es, ne? Das scheint der Bruder zu sein dann. Ja, stimmt. 22 Jahre. Ich scheine eine Frau zu sein, also muss ich Edith sein, ja. Das sehe ich auch so. Aber schon Flatscreen. Krieg ich das Paket hier? Nee. Edith Finch Living Room. So, hier gehen wir noch nicht rein.
Great-Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night.
Ach so, vielleicht müssen wir auch rausfinden, was in der letzten Nacht passiert ist. Ich meine, sie scheint es ja zu wissen. Ja, Eddie ist die Oma.
My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
Milton gibt's auch noch? Ihr Bruder Milton. Raus können wir nicht. Das ist nochmal die Küche. Hoch oder runter? Alright. Ja, ist irgendwas... Irgendwas geht hier vor mit den Alerts. Das muss ich mir nochmal anders angucken. Die laufen auf dem Computer, aber nicht in OBS. Aber das muss nicht jetzt sein. So. Irgendein... Ja, also ich glaube, der Wind rauscht und irgendwo klappert ein Fenster oder so. Glaube ich. So hört sich zumindest an. Okay. Rennen
After
kann man
Milton
nicht.
disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
Okay. Das ist da hinten in der Tür verschwunden, ne? Bisher haben die sich immer nur alle aufgelöst. So, das ist der Kamin, der aus dem alten Haus besteht. Wahrscheinlich ist das auch ein Bild da von dem alten Haus. Und das ist versunken, okay. Aber wenn ich Shift drücke, dann habe ich hier so eine komische, weiß ich nicht, so eine Möchtegern-Zoom-Funktion. Barbara.
Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
Also diese eingeschäumten Türen sind schon ein bisschen eigenartig, ne? Und ja, Bücher gibt es hier eine Menge. Achso, hier stehen ja noch Namen dran, ne? Gregory, Calvin, was? Ist das alles?
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
Da ist jetzt die Frage, teilt er sich das wirklich mit dem toten Bruder? Oder ist der einfach jetzt tot?
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
Ja, aber Jahreszahlen von was, ne? Oh, das ist lang.
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait.
Meinst du, das ist von bis? Also wie lange sie gelebt haben? Das wäre ja hier bei Gregory echt traurig. Außerdem scheint das außerdem scheint das irgendwie eher ein Badezimmer zu sein. Hier haben wir noch Molly.
Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947.
Mit 10 Jahren. Okay, die sind irgendwie alle nicht so alt, also außer jetzt.
I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Dafür ist mein Schlüssel.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Ich bin mir nicht sicher, ob ich das wissen möchte. Ja, hoch, runter oder hier durch? Ich würde sagen, wir gehen erstmal hier durch.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. But I had no idea what was behind that door.
Ach so, ganz wichtig, die Geschichte,
Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
man merkt es ja schon, ne? Sie spricht in der Vergangenheitsform. Ich sitze, also das Spiel startet auf einem Boot. Ich sitze mit Blumen und einem verbundenen Arm auf dem Boot rum und fange an, diese Geschichte zu erzählen. Also zumindest scheine ich das auf jeden Fall überlebt zu haben, was auch immer hier passiert. Vielleicht noch interessant zu wissen, ne?
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. My Halloween candy was all gone. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
Ja, ja, genau. Das ist ja auch Mollys,
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Den Fisch hat sie ja schon mal nicht gegessen. Naja.
Mom, can I come out now?
Sweetheart, it's late. Go to sleep.
Eingeschlossene Kinder ist auch hart.
I kept eating and eating. I ate a lot of things that night.
Das sieht nicht so gesund aus. Ja, das war Zahncreme. Und das hier sieht aus wie diese gefährlichen Beeren, die Also die Blätter kommen mir so aus meiner Kindheit bekannt vor, wo mir gesagt wurde, dass ich die nicht essen darf.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly, I was a cat. I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared.
Frag nicht.
I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. I gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
Was?
Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger.
Ich weiß es nicht. Also woher auch?
A mama rabbit.
Meine Mama kann nicht.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Okay. Ich kann hüpfen. Bitte renn mich mal weiter nach unten.
I rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever.
Okay, hoch und runter ist gucken. Hallo?
I wanted fat, juicy seals. I tore off her flipper, and it tasted really good. Grabbed on tight. But I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
Was? Was ist das denn?
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere. I was big, but I moved real quiet.
Also wenn hier was Horror ist, dann ich. Ich sehe nix. Ich sehe nix. Das aus, ja. Ein Auto führen. Ich bin da hinten wieder runtergeklettert, ich Depp.
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't.
Die Steuerung ist gar nicht so leicht.
After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And to cross the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Bin ich jetzt in meinem Haus zurück?
I got closer and closer.
Das ist doch eins von den Zimmern, hä?
All my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Ach, guck. Ach, guck. So, jetzt haben wir das und die. So, da bin ich oben, ne? Und ich lebe noch. Ich habe noch kein Todesdatum. Wenn ich jetzt 17 bin und ich bin 99 geboren, dann spielt das 2016. Und die Musik war halt so, weil Molly ja 1947 schon gestorben ist. Aha, aha, aha. Da bin ich reingekommen.
I can't describe it, but I felt like some part of Molly was still here. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
Zumindest bin ich keine Katze.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. We got along, and it was a good place to hide from my mom. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johann.
Familienfluch?
On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind.
Ach, das war ein... Deswegen ist das untergegangen. Also deswegen konnte das untergehen. Das war ein Hausboot.
But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Das möchte ich lesen. Genau das Buch.
Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
Ein Maulwurf, Mann.
I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time. One summer, they evacuated the island, but Edie refused to go. For a few weeks, she was a celebrity. When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Schöner Fußboden.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife, Kay, left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
Oh, passt mein Schlüssel hier auch? There is a secret in this bathroom.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Oh Mann.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down.
Also es ist ja echt schön gemacht, ne? Dieses Buch mit den Klappen und so. Man muss die übrigens auch immer alle selber aufmachen. Also ich muss mit der Maus quasi ziehen. Deswegen kann ich die auch wieder zurück zuklappen, weil ich die, solange ich sie noch nicht aufgeklappt habe, halt so bewegen kann. Milton war natürlich schon wieder hier.
I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin.
Rechts hört wohl auf, weil er gestorben ist, ne?
And that he never talked about him.
Da haben sie das Ding hier abgesperrt und den Kalender auch nicht mehr umgeblättert. Also Eddie scheint die Oma zu sein. Aber Samuel Finch. Okay, da brauchen wir jetzt nicht hin. Wir gehen erstmal nach oben.
I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
Die Geschichte. Ach, von dem Tod, von dem... Ah. Naja, was soll's, ne? Hilft ja nichts.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it. My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom, and he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again, and he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Calvin! I'm not gonna tell you again!
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up. Then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother. The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Okay. Ja, ich spreche nicht so viel, ne? Es ist sehr, also ich finde es sehr emotional. Und guck mir das an und hör dazu. Ich hoffe, das ist nicht so schlimm. Hatte auch gerade so ein bisschen Gänsehaut, muss ich gestehen. Mann, Mann, Mann. Allerdings, soweit ich weiß, ist ein Überschlag mit einer Schaukel, die Ketten hat, nicht möglich. Weil die nämlich einbrechen ab einer bestimmten Höhe und man die Spannung nicht aufbauen kann, um einmal rumzukommen. Puh. Ja,
After
gut.
the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Eine Abkürzung. Milton war natürlich auch hier.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
Achso, nee, nicht wieder da rein. Nein, nein, nein. Raus da. Der Geburtstagskuchen. Dafür, dass sie schon so lange
I
tot
never
sein
thought
soll.
about how hard it must have been for her afterwards. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch.
Vielleicht wird es jetzt doch ein bisschen
As a
gruselig.
child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes
Da waren wir doch
later,
eben schon dran an der Spieluhr, ne?
Rick hadn't returned. So Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Okay, ich muss wieder laufen.
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
The old fridge rattled and grew still.
Oh dear!
Oh!
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you're...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
Die Musik finde ich gruselig.
Walter vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing. And he was. He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned. wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet.
Der ist bestimmt gleich weg.
The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... Someone at the door was dying to speak to young Barbara. At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard, but that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Okay, Kari, jetzt können wir uns drüber unterhalten. Was sagst du dazu? Okay, jetzt gehen wir hier wieder raus. Deswegen gibt es auch wahrscheinlich diese Abkürzung. Weil wir kommen jetzt wieder ins
I guess
Treppenhaus.
now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
So.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house.
Haben wir das eben schon angeguckt?
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
So.
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
Okay. Ja. So. Da haben wir schon überall reingeguckt.
It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key. Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
Okay. Dahinter ist die Bibliothek. das dunkler oder bilde ich mir das ein? Ja, wollen wir mit der Spieluhr spielen? Das wäre doch mal was, ne? Ich hätte gerne eine Taschenlampe. Nicht, also, es macht zwar ein bisschen gruseliger, aber es ist echt dunkel hier gerade.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
Hat er die Rutsche selber gebaut und das ist das Modell?
I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
Also Leute, jetzt ist echt, also das...
I thought maybe she was hiding presents.
It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
Oha.
I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Oh. Da ist Walter aber alt geworden. Hier unten ist er einfach, hat er sich verkrochen und ist hier geblieben. Oh Mann.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week.
Dankeschön.
But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything.
Das wäre ja die Frage, ne? Warum?
Even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly.
Ja, genau, sehe ich auch so. 1976.
And then one day, everything just
Kalender. 2005.
stopped.
Oh. Das ist jetzt das Jahr, in dem ich sterbe, ne?
Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe you got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave. Well, I still can.
Nach unten. Natürlich. Macht ja auch Sinn.
I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara and Molly and Calvin.
Okay, also er glaubt, es wurde alles von dem
Maybe this is all a mistake.
selben getötet.
But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me.
Das ist schon richtig cool gemacht. Also ich finde es richtig cool gemacht.
Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food.
Also auch so von den,
I don't mind if I only have
von den Einblendungen und wie das alles so aufgebaut ist, meine ich.
for a month or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Das ist nicht sein Ernst.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here.
Er ist von einem Zug überfahren worden. Oh nein. Oh nein.
I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
Ich dachte, es wäre er hätte die Wand durchschlagen zu diesem, also, dass die Bahnschienen durch die Wand gegangen wären, die ich kaputt gemacht habe, weil das so ein Dead End ist, ne? Also einfach nicht mehr benutzt. Aber anscheinend war die Wand, die ich kaputt gemacht habe, zu einem Tunnel von einem Zug und der kam, ne? Ja. So.
Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house...
Ach, dann ist das der Maulwurfmann wahrscheinlich, was? Mein Onkel. Der immer unten im Keller lebt. Unter der Erde. Der wird ja auch diese Gänge hier gebaut haben.
I can only imagine what else she was hiding.
Ja, genau.
I don't want to make the same mistakes she made.
Ja, jetzt sehen wir es auch gleich. Ne? Er hat nur so ein kleines Teil da unten reingeschlagen.
Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe 2, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else.
Ich gehe mal
But
an
now
der
I'm
Seite.
worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse we made it real.
Ja, hier ist der Grabstein. Oh. Ich gehe mal näher an den Monitor. Blinkt da hinten auf der Insel was? Siehst du das auch?
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know
Lügst
about
doch.
your family.
Warte mal. Dass du über deine Familie Bescheid wissen solltest?
And the history you're a part of.
Da hinten auf der Insel. Da blinkt es rot.
Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
Ja, ich glaube nicht, dass sie mit uns spricht, oder? Also, wäre ein bisschen eigenartig.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible.
Es ist mehr ein interaktiver Film, ne, als ein Spiel, weil großartige Rätsel.
I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Gehen wir jetzt zum Friedhof.
It's embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault. Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
Edith Finch.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide.
Aha.
Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
Ach, das ist das alte Haus. Und eine Boje, und die Boje davor blinkt. Okay.
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better.
Genau.
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself.
Irgendwas hat mich zu dieser Leiter hier hingezogen. Ich wollte nicht dran vorbeilaufen.
But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing,
I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Du hast so recht, Kari, ne? Ich renn hier also schwanger rum.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense. Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Ah, rechte Maustaste ist dasselbe wie Shift. Kann ich in dieses Buch auch einfach mal reingucken, wenn... Da ist ja eine Todesgeschichte. Ah, Sams Todesgeschichte.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
Oh, ich möchte so eine Knarre mitnehmen. Ich möchte das zu einem Ego-Shooter machen und alles töten. Weißt du, da fühle ich mich dann zu Hause. Hier weiß ich nicht, was auf mich zukommt.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Hmm? What? Meg?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. The camera's older than you are. Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee. Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Don. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere.
Dad!
Good eyes, Dawn. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Dawn, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Great shot, Dawn! I'm proud of you, Dawn. Always remember that, okay? Sorry, Dawn. Just gotta reset the timer.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally
so...
normal, Dawn. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
Das ist doch irgendwie ein ist das nicht irgendwie... Ja, damit habe ich auch schwer nicht gerechnet. Das ist doch der Stammbaum, ne? Guck mal, und da unten wären dann Odin und Eddie. So, und die haben dann Molly, Barbara, Corvin, Sam und Walter bekommen. Korrekt? So, und wer ist denn Ingeborg? Ach so, ja. Sven. Da. Den gibt's noch nicht. Also, Odin war mit Ingeborg verheiratet. Ich entnehme das dem jetzt mal. Und hat dann Eddie gekriegt und die hat Sven geheiratet. Und die hat dann die Kinder oben drüber bekommen. So. Und irgendjemand hat Kai geheiratet. Da ist ja noch so ein Blatt, ne? Und hat dann Dawn und Gus und Gregory gekriegt. Und Dawn hat dann Sanjay geheiratet. Und die haben dann Louis, Milton und Edith gekriegt. Die Frage ist allerdings... Achso, Sam. Ja, genau. Sam ist ja der... Oder? Genau, Walter war im Keller. Bedeutet, Sam ist ja der Vater dann. Also der Opa mit Kai. Dann ist Eddie aber die Uroma, ne? Ach nee, doch nicht. Wenn Ediths Mutter Dawn ist, deren Mutter ist dann die Oma Kay und die Uroma ist Eddie. Ja, passt. Genau. Nee. Warte mal. Ja, genau. Dawn ist die Mutter und Kay ist die Oma und Edith ist die Uroma. Ist das denn hier eine Klimaanlage?
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Egal was es ist, ich will's haben. Ach, ist das?
I can't imagine my mom ever writing poetry, and yet
Gus ist 13 geworden. Dawn ist hier aus dem Zimmer ausgezogen. Weil sie anscheinend groß genug ja geworden ist. Und Gregory... 1. Alter, Kari, du bist so der Fuchs, ne? Evakuierungsplan. Bier, Baby. Ja, aber das war doch... Ich dachte immer, das sind die... Okay, hier wird's weitergehen. Wir müssen gleich ein bisschen bouldern. Ja, ja, genau, das Badezimmer. Ich dachte, man guckt immer in die Zimmer rein, weißt du? Weil das Kind ja anscheinend... Ach, der ist da vielleicht gestorben, hä? Oh nein, ich will's nicht wissen. Oh Mann, ich will's doch wirklich nicht wissen.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. I think he saw things the rest of us don't.
Come over, Gregory. It's time to... Hold on.
I don't want Gregory to hear this.
I wish she could have told us. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Ja, es scheint kalt zu sein, ne? Sie hat so Armüberzieher an. Sie ist anscheinend sehr modebewusst.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died.
At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
Ach, warte. Nee. Ich bin ja noch gar nicht fertig.
I can't imagine what it was
Ja,
like for her
mach
to
ich.
lose two sons after she'd already lost
Ich rutsche die Stange wieder
brothers.
runter. Weil hier ist ja noch der Bruder. Ja, hier machen wir jetzt eine kleine Pause. Weiter geht's.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard. My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart. I tried to talk him out of it, but though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom were the words that I
now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger. The wind picked up, and panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent. The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made. The thunder sounded much too close and full of angry power. but all my father said to this was, make the music louder. I wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't, until we found you.
Okay.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Ich glaube nicht, warum... Obwohl, warte mal, irgendwas war doch mal... Irgendwas war doch mal mit einem... Irgendwer hat doch... Irgendwo stand irgendwas von erster Frau. Wegen dem rosa Badezimmer. Okay, er wurde vom Sturm genommen. So, jetzt wollen wir nochmal hochgehen. Da oben wohnt Dawn. So. Genau, genau. Und die ist aber auch noch nicht, die ist ja auch... Ach doch, die ist...
She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta,
Da
where
ist
she met my
Sanjay.
dad, Sanjay.
Aber hier ist keine Todesgeschichte, weil das ist ja ihr Jugendzimmer hier. Fly to India. Wir mussten in den seltensten Fällen zurück, ne, eigentlich. Respect. Teamwork. Asebli, hi. Ah, ist noch nicht so lange her, ne? Ich dachte schon, ich hätte jetzt Ewigkeiten nicht aufgepasst. Ich gehe nochmal nach oben, Kari, alles klar. Ich bin so ein bisschen im Spiel drin. Guten Morgen, Siebli. Ich hoffe, du hast gut geschlafen. Ach, yo. Krass.
My mom
Sehr
moved to
gut.
India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
So, und Louis ist ja ihr Bruder. Okay, da unten die Treppe ist kaputt.
When my
also
dad
gehen wir
died,
hoch.
I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back. And to see kids in the house again.
Milton. Edith.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good. Almost normal. But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle. After Milton disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Ja, aber es gibt kein Todesdatum von Milton. Wahrscheinlich auf meinem Stammbaumbuch auch schon nicht, ne? Er hat mit 10 dieses Ding hier gekriegt. Die Frage ist, wie lange ist er schon weg, ne? Aber so malt man doch nicht mit 10, ne? Also muss er ja schon, also muss er ja noch ein paar Jahre hier gewohnt haben.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
I was 4 when Milton disappeared.
Da steht ein... Ach so. Die haben sein Verschwinden als Todesdatum eingetragen. Ja, mit den großen Fischen, ich erinnere mich, wo ohne Licht plötzlich irgendwie so ein Fisch leuchtet.
Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors. Whatever Milton had found in the house, Mom didn't want it getting out.
Oh, doch nochmal hier rumgehen, vielleicht ist jetzt irgendwas aktiviert worden. Aber wahrscheinlich nicht. Ne. Aber sagt mal, wohnt der Dude eigentlich hier drin? Ach, da geht eine Treppe hoch. Guck mal eine an.
Mom definitely blamed
Alter,
Edie,
dieses Haus,
but
ne? Wer zieht denn
I
da ein?
think Louis blamed himself.
Das kann nicht Ihr Ernst
After he
sein.
graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Auch tot.
Everyone always told me to stay out of Lewis's room. Except Lewis.
Haben die hier ein Boot eingebaut? Sind alle fertig.
Lewis's room smelled very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
Nein! Oh.
Louis and I spent a lot of time playing games together, but he was surprisingly bad at them. He died a lot.
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Lewis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Lewis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery. But he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to...
Ich kann das irgendwie nicht nehmen.
wander.
Ach so.
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth.
Ich laufe jetzt ins Labyrinth und mache diese Fische gleichzeitig.
He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things that have not names. He knew it was all in his head. But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then, daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss, but he said Lewis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first. He told me he'd made a new friend. On the edge of a city he named Louis Topia. He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band. And he was always humming something. Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him that all the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination, so he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor, and he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him. He'd conquer a city, then immediately push on. New Louisville. St. Louis. He started drifting away from our reality.
Es ist gar nicht mehr so einfach, hier jetzt alles gleichzeitig zu machen.
Minneapolis. Until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on. In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen. The queen was on her own quest for
Natürlich leuchten ein Regenbogen, Leute.
radiant rainbows. He followed the sound of her silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination. But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming.
Das ist das Gefährlicher Computerspiel.
And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon,
Vor allen Dingen
but the one climbing the steps of a
an
golden
MMOs.
palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. He began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Including the wise Calico who had insisted on advising him. His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head. I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who will be missed by all of us who knew him.
Aber, Moment mal.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Der Kopf, der passt doch nicht in unter dieses Fischmesser. Also Hand abgeschnitten, würde ich ja noch irgendwie nachvollziehen können. Aber... Das irgendwie nicht. Sebli, hast du gut geschlafen? Wie war eure Nacht? Ja, aber auf das Band wohin? Da kommt ja nicht nochmal, also weißt du? Menschengroße Hackebeile. Eigentlich, denke ich mir mal so. Oh, okay.
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing.
She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder.
Auf der anderen Seite war auch noch eine Treppe, ne? Die haben wir jetzt noch nicht benutzt.
I wish we'd stayed. But I understand why we left.
My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
Der Raum gehörte Sven und Edith gleichzeitig. Oder Sam und Edith? Ach, ich weiß es nicht. Dem Typ mit S und Edith.
What happened that night had been coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner. But it had to end one way or another.
All that's left now was to tell you about that last night.
Aber sie hat doch mit ihrem Mann zusammen gewohnt. Na gut. Ich habe ja was gefunden, was Edith heißt. Das bin ja ich. Ne? Ach, Edith! Ja, du hast vollkommen... Ich hab das vercheckt, ne? Ich dachte an, ja, ach, guck mal. Nein, die von der Person, die jetzt spricht. Ja. Mhm. Nicht Eddie. Ne? Eddie und Sam oder Sven hatten nämlich zusammen eins und Edith, das scheint mein Zimmer zu sein. Und das ist jetzt das, was ich wahrscheinlich schreibe, ne? In dem Moment. Was ich gerade vorlese.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together. And all our final
Aber
nights."
Eddie haben wir halt auch noch nicht. Ne?
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
The power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles. When my mom sailed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Eddie hatten wir schon? Die ist doch noch frei auf dem... Auf dieser... Wir können die nicht... Doch hier. Guck mal. Und noch lebt sie in unseren Erzählungen ja auch. Also meine Mom fehlt noch. Und meine Uroma. Aber sollte ich nicht eigentlich ein Geschenk angucken? Naja.
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
History of the Finch by Edith Finch.
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out.
Also 1999. Oh, yo.
It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground.
Aber da müssen wir nicht hin, oder? Sieht fast so aus.
God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life.
Ja, ich muss auf das Boot, das ist ja keine
I
Insel.
never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around.
Genau, ganz genau.
For a while, I wandered. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
Ja, Halluzination. Das kann ja wirklich, wenn das Wasser weg
Things
ist.
I can't explain, but that I need you to
Den Reh, der
try.
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the van came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot. We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it, but she started getting sick a lot. The rest happened pretty quickly. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone. The last Finch left alive. until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes and appreciate how strange and brief all of this is. This journal was supposed to be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you and tell you all these stories myself.
Ach
But I guess if you're
sag
reading
nicht,
this
ich bin hier
now,
gerade.
things didn't work out that way.
Das war nicht die Geburt, ne? Komm schon.
This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Ich lasse das mal noch ein bisschen wirken. Okay. Also das Bild von Eddie haben wir nicht erfüllt. Ich weiß nicht, ob das geht. In der Theorie könnte sie ja noch leben, wenn sie uralt geworden ist. Und Milton, der verschwundene Künstler, könnte ja auch noch leben. Ich denke nicht, Kari. Ich wüsste nicht, da ich ja nichts beeinflussen kann, wüsste ich nicht, wie das ausfallen soll. Ja, 2,5 Stunden haben wir gebraucht. Na, nicht ganz, aber